I found a second credit card statement and realized my wife was draining our savings to fund her sister's illusion of a perfect life. My name is Mike, and I always believed that financial stability was built on transparency and sacrifice. My wife, Olivia, and I had been married for 12 years. We had 2 boys, a mortgage that felt like a permanent weight, and 2 full-time jobs. We weren't struggling to eat, but we were definitely struggling to breathe. Every discussion about money was tense, defined by necessity and compromise. We drove reliable, decade-old cars, we cut cable, we always went for the generic brand at the grocery store. Everything in our life was based on the premise that we had to be tight, disciplined, and focused on paying down the mortgage to secure our children's future. Olivia was always the one pushing for more cuts, more discipline. She was the financial hawk, and I trusted her absolutely. That trust was my undoing. The first crack appeared last month, around our son Liam's 10th birthday. Liam desperately wanted a certain gaming console, and it was expensive. I told Olivia we should splurge just this once for his double-digit birthday. She shut me down instantly, firmly. Mike, we can't. We just paid the property taxes. We are running too close to the line. He doesn't need a console. He needs parents who aren't drowning in debt. Her reasoning was sound, harsh, and utterly consistent with her character. So Liam got books and a small pre-owned drone. He was disappointed, and I was frustrated, but I deferred to Olivia's strict financial caution, as I always did. The console incident left a strange, metallic taste in my mouth, a feeling that something didn't quite add up. We were both making good salaries. Our spending was meticulously tracked on a joint budget spreadsheet that Olivia updated weekly. Logically, we shouldn't be that close to the line. The anxiety gnawed at me. The discovery happened on a rainy Sunday. I was cleaning out the recycling bin in the garage before taking it to the curb. Tucked beneath some old newspapers and cardboard was a large, glossy white envelope addressed to Olivia. It didn't have her name, but a pseudonym I didn't recognize, O. Lane. I almost tossed it, but the heavy paper and the elegant font made me hesitate. I tore it open. Inside was a credit card statement, a high-end card, one I didn't know we had, with a separate, private login. The name on the account was Olivia's, but the statement was addressed to O. Lane at a P.O. box downtown. I felt a cold dread settle in my stomach as I looked at the balance. Over $20,000. That wasn't the biggest shock. The shock was the list of transactions. They were a catalog of a lifestyle we could never afford. $1,000 at a boutique in Beverly Hills, a place Olivia had never been. $3,000 for a high-end handbag I certainly hadn't bought her. Multiple charges for first-class train tickets between major cities. And the largest transaction, a $4,500 deposit paid to a luxury travel agency referencing a trip to the south of France. I sat down right there on the dusty garage floor, the rain drumming on the roof, feeling dizzy with confusion and disbelief. I immediately logged into our joint bank account. I cross-referenced the dates on the credit card statement with our savings history. The money was being diverted not through monthly transfers, but through large sporadic withdrawals labeled ambiguously as investment management fee or quarterly insurance. These were transactions Olivia had managed, transactions I had signed off on without question because she was the hawk, the careful one. Over the past 4 years, she had systematically siphoned nearly $70,000 from our savings, the money we were painfully saving for the kids' college fund and the mortgage principal. I confronted her that night. I didn't yell. My voice was a low, vibrating monotone. Who is O. Lane, Olivia? And why did she just buy a $4,500 trip to France using our mortgage money? Olivia didn't deny it. She went immediately, sickeningly white, her composure shattering instantly. She confessed everything, but the truth wasn't about an affair or a personal shopping addiction. It was about her sister, Beth. Beth was Olivia's younger sister, the glamorous, successful one. Beth was a social media influencer, known for her perfect life, her luxury travel, and her high-end style. The truth was, Beth was deeply in debt, perpetually on the verge of bankruptcy, and constantly chasing the next high-fashion moment. Olivia had been secretly funding her, terrified that if Beth's followers, and more importantly, their parents, found out that her golden child was broke, their parents would disown her. "Our parents worship Beth, Mike," Olivia pleaded, tears streaming down her face. "They always call her the success story. If they knew the truth, it would break them. I was just helping her maintain the illusion until she got her next big contract." The transactions, the clothes, the travel, the luxury items were all purchased for Beth using the private credit card funded by our savings. The $4,500 trip to France, that was Beth's work trip to a European fashion week. My kids got a used drone while her sister wore $1,000 shoes paid for by our financial anxiety. I stared at my wife, seeing her not as my partner, but as an accomplice in a financial crime against our own family, a crime motivated by nothing more than protecting a fragile family ego.
The cold dread from the garage solidified into a hard, crystalline anger. I sat across from Olivia at the kitchen table, the budget spreadsheet, the document that had been the sacred covenant of our marriage, open on my laptop, juxtaposed with the glossy credit card statement for O-Lane. The betrayal wasn't just financial, it was a profound philosophical violation of everything we had built. I had trusted her discipline, her caution, her constant refrain of "no, we can't afford it," only to discover she was living a secret, expensive life of generosity toward the one person who least deserved it. $70,000, Olivia, I repeated, my voice low and shaking. That was 10 years of painful sacrifice. That was Liam's college fund. That was the extra principal we paid down on the house so we could retire without anxiety. You stole our financial safety net to protect your sister's vanity. She kept repeating the same desperate defense. "It was for Mom and Dad, Mike. They're so proud of Beth. If they knew she was a complete failure, financially dependent on us, it would kill them. I was trying to protect their perfect vision of the family." That was the moment I realized the depth of the rot. It wasn't simple charity. It was a conspiracy rooted in insecurity. Olivia, the sensible, hard-working daughter, felt less valued than Beth, the glittering false idol. Olivia's guilt over failing to meet the perfect daughter standard had driven her to become a willing accomplice in Beth's self-destruction. "The lie ends today," I told her, standing up. "I won't be an accessory for fraud for the sake of your parents' misplaced pride. You call Beth right now. She has to tell me how she plans to repay the $70,000 she spent on the credit card." Olivia was hysterical, terrified that Beth would expose her involvement, terrified of what her parents would think. But my cold resolve terrified her more. She made the call, setting up an immediate emergency meeting at a neutral coffee shop downtown. When we arrived, Beth was already there, looking impeccably styled. A $2,000 dress, a $3,000 handbag, all purchased on the O-Lane credit card. She looked like she had stepped off the cover of a magazine, totally detached from the mundane desperation that defined my life. I didn't let Olivia speak. I slid the credit card statement across the table to Beth, right next to her expensive latte. "This is the O-Lane card. It's funded by my family's savings. You owe us $70,000, Beth. Where is the money?" Beth didn't even flinch. She glanced at the statement, then rolled her eyes, maintaining a sickening calm. "Oh, come on, Liv, you told him? I told you this was just a temporary bridge loan. You know I pay you back when the big checks clear." She spoke to Olivia as if I weren't even there, minimizing the as a minor inconvenience. "No," I cut in sharply. "No more checks, no more loans. This isn't a bridge loan, it's fraud. Your sister told me you needed to maintain your influencer illusion for mom and dad. You need to come clean to them today, and you need to pay us back." Beth finally snapped, her glamorous facade cracking to reveal a vicious entitlement. "It's just money, Mike. You and Liv are boringly comfortable. You have 2 incomes, you have security. I have a brand to protect. My success is the only thing that makes mom and dad happy. If I fail, they fail. Don't you dare ruin their happiness just because you're stressed about a little savings account." Her words confirmed my worst fears. She believed her false success was a service to our family, and our hard-earned money was merely a tool for her performance. The contempt in her eyes for our boringly comfortable life was the final straw. I knew then that both sisters had to face the judgment of reality. I turned to Olivia, my eyes blazing with finality. "This is no longer up for discussion. We are going to your parents' house, and you are going to tell them everything. You tell them you stole our money, you tell them Beth is broke, and you tell them that their success story is a lie." The confrontation with her parents was the single hardest, most heartbreaking moment of the entire ordeal. We drove to their suburban home, the picture of stability and quiet pride. We sat them down in their meticulously neat living room. Olivia, trembling and hysterical, couldn't speak, so I took the lead, delivering the facts with the precision of a prosecutor. I didn't soften the blow. I told them that for 4 years, Olivia had been secretly siphoning our money to pay for Beth's elaborate social media lifestyle. I detailed the $70,000 loss, the fake credit card, the lies about the mortgage payments, and the reason to protect their vision of Beth's success. The reaction was not the immediate anger I expected. It was a shattering, complex disbelief. Mrs. Miller, my mother-in-law, started to cry immediately, clutching her husband's hand. Mr. Miller, however, just stared at Beth, who sat frozen, finally stripped of her glamour. $70,000, Mr. Miller repeated slowly, his voice laced with the pain of an old man whose entire foundation has just been dynamited. "Beth, are you broke? Is your whole business a lie?" When Beth finally admitted it, a choked, miserable, "Yes." Mr. Miller didn't look at her. He looked at Olivia, his reliable, financially responsible daughter. His voice was a raw mixture of confusion and devastating sorrow. "Why, Olivia? Why would you do this? You have a good husband, a safe family. Why would you sacrifice your children's future to feed your sister's pride? We always knew Beth was high maintenance, but you were the sensible one. Did you really think her success was more important than your own children?" His question, "Did you really think her success was more important than your own children?" was the one that finally broke Olivia. She was sobbing uncontrollably, realizing that in trying to earn her parents' pride through Beth, she had alienated the people who mattered most, me and our sons. Her act of protection had only resulted in total destruction. I knew that in that moment our marriage was over. It wasn't just the theft. It was the realization that in 12 years, my wife still prioritized the validation of her parents' fragile ego over the safety and security of the family we had painstakingly built together. I stood up, leaving the 3 of them, the broken idol, the guilty accomplice, and the shattered parents, to face the cold, painful truth. I walked out, knowing the only fight left was to reclaim what was mine. I walked out of that meticulously tidy living room and never went back as a husband. The realization that my wife valued her parents' perception of their family status over the financial security of our children was a poison I couldn't allow to circulate in my home any longer. The love I felt for Olivia had been suffocated by resentment and the sheer, exhausting disappointment of her betrayal. My sole focus shifted entirely to protecting my sons and recovering the $70,000 she had stolen. The divorce was inevitable, but it was brutal. Olivia resisted at first, clinging to the idea that we could somehow put the money back and forget the last 4 years. She didn't understand that the issue was no longer the money. It was the broken covenant of our partnership. My lawyer, thankfully, saw the financial fraud clearly. We presented the evidence: the hidden O-Lane credit card, the systematic withdrawals from our joint savings labeled as fake fees, and the documented pattern of sacrifice I had made while she was funding her sister's lavish lifestyle. It was clear and damning. She had financially sabotaged our family. The court ordered Olivia to repay the full $70,000 plus legal fees, and the divorce was finalized quickly based on irreconcilable differences rooted in financial betrayal. The immediate struggle was for her sister, Beth. Once Olivia was forced to cut off the funding, Beth's perfect life collapsed spectacularly. Her rent on her luxury apartment went unpaid, her expensive car was repossessed, and the constant stream of high-end purchases on her social media feed dried up instantly. Her brand, built entirely on my mortgage money, disintegrated. The public unraveling of Beth's illusion was painful to watch, but necessary. Her followers, and more importantly, the corporate sponsors, realized they had been taken for a ride. She was publicly humiliated, facing massive debt, and finally had to move back in with our deeply disappointed in-laws. Their silent shame, their regret that they had valued the glossy facade of one daughter over the genuine stability of the other, was a heavy form of justice. My father-in-law, Mr. Miller, never forgave Olivia for creating the lie that protected Beth's fraud. The family dynamic, based on the adoration of a false idol, had been completely shattered. The most difficult consequence was the emotional one. My sons, Liam and Alex, couldn't understand why their mother had moved out. They didn't understand finance or betrayal, only absence. I told them simply that Mommy and Daddy needed to live separately because we couldn't agree on how to be a team anymore, and that Mommy loved them very much. I shielded them from the agonizing financial stress and the details of the theft, maintaining a stable home life even as my own heart was constantly aching with the failure of my marriage. Every night I would look at the boys and feel the protective fury that had driven me to expose the truth. I had saved their college fund, but I couldn't save their whole family. It took 2 years to get the full amount repaid through the sale of assets and garnishment of Olivia's wages. The money is now back in our accounts, but it feels different. It's no longer money saved for a shared dream. It's a cold, hard symbol of my vigilance. I look at the balance and see the years I worked at that demanding job, the holidays we skipped, and the console I denied Liam. The scar is permanent. I learned the hardest lesson of adulthood. A partnership requires shared reality, not shared delusion. You can't build security on secrecy, and you can't build a marriage by sacrificing one partner's well-being to prop up another family member's ego. Olivia chose the facade, and I chose my children. I am now a divorced father, raising my sons in a house that is finally truly mine, defined by honesty and painful reality. We still drive old cars and we still budget, but the discipline is now rooted in mutual respect, not the manipulation of a lie. The financial safety net is real this time, and that simple, hard-won truth is the only luxury I will ever need.